What is up, everybody? We are live. Thank you for joining me today. I think today we'll do something we haven't done in a while. Let's do a call-in show. Something where anybody in the community can call in using the link that is posted right there at the top of the chat. I want to do Q&A. You all can call in with any questions you have. Of course, it always makes sense if you all have big, broad questions that, and they can be specific too, but questions that don't get answered in like a tutorial or something. So like, don't call in and be like, how do I use a reverb in Ableton Live? Or what MIDI controller should I buy? Those are all questions that have been answered time and time again in videos, but sometimes there are more nuanced questions that people call in with. Questions around being an artist, questions around, developing your sound, things like that. So like more philosophical, I guess, questions are a great thing to call in and ask. And the way this works, so that none of you are too afraid to call in. Oh, it's our journey. Well, I was just going to call in and thank you for everything you do. You can, of course, do that. I'm sure we can get into some conversation about something because I would love to actually hear from you about like what content has helped you a lot. Like we can talk about that stuff too. Like feedback on the channel too is cool. That's another thing to get into. Since the last time we did this call-in format, there's been a lot more new members. And hey, Plux Music, VIP. Thank you for joining, or thank you for renewing your membership as a VIP member. I appreciate that. You can definitely leave a question in the chat too, Dustin, but if I may encourage call-ins, some of you are like in the office and stuff, so you can't necessarily call in, and that's fine. But here's the Zoom link. I'm spamming it in chat. And just so none of you are afraid, when you click that link, you join a waiting room so you don't immediately get brought on stream. And then eventually when it is time to feature your call in, you're not on video or anything. It's literally just audio. So don't be like too shy or afraid or anything. It's just audio, and I'll make it really clear when I'm pulling you in for a call. And that could be fun. I mean, there's been some debates lately, people complaining about teenage engineering desks. I stirred the pot a little bit when I was talking about machine design. If you want to get into that stuff, let's get into some hot takes too today, if you have them. But I'll say hello to everybody's here. What's up? Sis Zello, nice to see you. Pedro, Vapes Vibrato, thank you for being here. Miss Nadia is here. Miss Nadia, if you give me permission, I'd love to share that preview that you shared with me via email. That animation preview, if it's okay to share with the stream, I would love to kind of show that off and show people what's happening since the previous stream. Brian Manuel, hello, nice to see you. Thanks for being here. Dustin, yes, like I said, feel free to drop your question in chat. Marcochi says, love you, man, appreciate that. Plux Music says, hey TAETRO, hope life is good. Last video was a banger. Thank you, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I think you're probably, the last video was the Ableton Live for Beginner Series Part 9, which Part 10 will be coming out at the beginning of March. It's crazy. Cross of Lorraine ring. So my nephew gave me this ring. If you want to tell me what it means, I don't know what the Cross of Lorraine is, but I would love to hear what it's all about. Thank you for making it easier to learn music production, mate. You made me buy a Akai MPK Mini. I made you do it. I forced you. Hello to everybody who's here today. Mom and Dad are also in the chat. I see Curtis. I see MilQM. I see Groovius Maximus. I see Sebastian. I see Gary. I see Sledgeman. Sledgeman says, good evening. Well, it's midday for me. Lunchtime for me, I would say. Zello says, oh, that reminds me, I finished up my track. That's amazing. Ms. Nadia says, I loved that last video on the Ableton for Beginner series. It's one of the best video series that I've ever seen. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I literally just shot episode 10 yesterday. So bringing that all, kind of wrapping that all up is really awesome. Brian says, so I need to hop in waiting room to ask questions? Yes, hop in the waiting room and I'll take the calls as they come. A few people are in the waiting room already, so get in now so I can for sure get your question. Guamu, nice to see you. And I know some people sometimes get worried about like, oh, my English isn't so good, but call in, do your best. We'll try our best here. Safe place. All right, what I want to share with you all before we take calls, so stay tuned. If you're in the waiting room, hold that thought. I would love to share with you all some update, because if y'all don't know, last week we worked on a track. We worked on like what is my most popular beat. Let me grab a video from it so I can show you. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, my most popular beat that has 1 million views. Let me drop this down here. I'll show this off for you all. Give me one moment. All right, here we go. You all know this tune. I gotta pause the background music. All right, you all know this one. The thing with this track is it hit 1 million views, but I never released it on Spotify or anything. I never felt it was fully finished. And in last week's stream, we went ahead and finished it. Just dope. I'm so stoked for that. So it's finished. Go watch last week's stream if you want to see the process of finishing a track. Like, we got into the very nitty gritty of that. But along the way in this process, Miss Nadia, who's in chat, that also did our animation for like the intro and outro and did some Beattober merch. Miss Nadia is working on an animation for this track for when we officially kind of re-release it. Let me bring it up here. I got permission to show you all a little preview. Miss Nadia will also be doing the album art, but let me show you the preview that she sent. If I can find it, here it is. But it's looking really cool. And I thought at first I wasn't sure if I wanted a full like animation for this track, but I figure it makes a good excuse to re-release the track, like another video to put the track out. All right, here it is. Let me show you. Like it's kind of like a wireframe, I guess you could say, like early sketch of the first like 30 seconds. Preview by our one and only Miss Nadia in the chat. Check it out. So there's more plans to go from here. More plans to go from here, do the rest of the song and add some things to this, but I think it's going to be really cool. Oh, wow, it just disappeared when it finished playing. I think that's going to be really cool. So I'm stoked for that. We'll be able to release that, be able to release the track. I think that's going to come out. Actually, here's what's up. If you have text questions, and you're not able to call in, I am going to start a Q&A, a separate tab for Q&A so I don't miss them. If you can't call in, ask here. Start Q&A. But if you can call in, of course, it's great because then we can get into conversation. We can have more nuanced conversation, I think. But we've got a couple people in the waiting room. I hope I didn't just mess up the waiting room. Okay, I did not. Got a couple people in the waiting room, so I want to bring that in. But what did you guys all think? What did you all think of that animation? CJ says, you're going to do any gigs this year? Who can say? I'm not sure. I have a couple cool projects in the works. They're not necessarily live performances. I know that NAMM is happening in April. I'm kind of on the fence with whether I'm going or not. Yeah, I'm not sure. All right, but yeah, Dustin, I saw your question. Can you just throw it into the Q&A thing so that it doesn't get lost? And anybody else, if you've already asked a question in chat, please also drop that into the Q&A text thing that is here in the chat now. I think I've got that all set. Rob Marco says, you made me realize I forgot to change my channel's name. Uh-oh. Adventure of Soap. Your Ableton series made my life so much easier. Yes, we love to hear it. All right, let's jump in with Q&A. Yo, been binging your Ableton Beginner's Guide. Didn't know you stream. Hey, Treble VT, welcome Peace and love. Welcome to the stream. If it is anybody else's first time, please let us know so I can welcome you accordingly. We can welcome you accordingly. But for now, let's take some calls. I want to be appreciative of everybody's time. David Carr, I see you in the waiting room. I'm going to bring you in 1 second as our first caller. If you are calling into the stream, can you all let me know, is the audio peaking? I don't think it is peaking, but some lights are flashing here that I'm not sure if they always flash or not. How's the audio sound? Let me know. But I wanted to say, if you're calling into the show, like I'm about to bring David Carr on, there is a little bit of a delay between the stream and the calls. So what you need to do is you're going to call in through Zoom. You're going to check and make sure your input device is selected, like your laptop microphone or your AirPods or whatever you're using. Make sure that is selected. Make sure to unmute yourself. Make sure to mute YouTube. You don't want to be listening to me through YouTube. You want to be listening to me through Zoom. Very important. If that all sounds good, we're going to start taking the calls. Use the link at the top of the chat to call in. Let me drop this in the chat one more time so you can all find it. Click that link. You can join. Maddie says, first time on your stream. Love your work. Amazing. Johnny says, first time here. Enjoyed your vids and learning a lot. Great. Zello says, Russia, see you and like your music. Thank you for joining us, my friend. Awesome. Yeah, these are great streams to really get into it. So don't be afraid. Call in. David Carr is going to be our first brave caller. Hopefully you hear what a call-in show is like and you all feel comfortable chatting. But David, thank you for joining me here on the stream. Welcome.
Hey, it's good to talk again, man.
Yes. How have you been?
It's been crazy. I just turned 21 yesterday.
Congratulations. Happy birthday. Can we get happy birthday in chat, please? Happy birthday in chat.
Oh, you're sweet, man. Thank you.
Can you give everybody like a little rundown of what you do, what kind of music you make, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I would love to. So I'm like a rock star at the heart kind of guy. I grew up listening to just crazy grunge music and singing with the family. So anything with distortion and guitar, I guess, is the best way to put it. But
nice.
If I could do the setup, honestly, these days, I'm low-key rolling with native instruments.
Okay.
They're treating me right. So
what's your favorite gear from native instruments?
Okay, the machine lineups are awesome. I'm rolling old school with the studio. That's
awesome.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's cool.
I saw your video though. You had a MK3 and a Model 12.
Oh yeah. Wait, that's like kind of old video, older.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know if you can see the camera, but that's
dope. You got yourself one too. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll be rolling with the Machine Studio, and I use an Arturia synth to get my bass lines. It's awesome. But rolling for the drum machine, and now we're making more than just rock. We're making all kinds of music.
Totally. I mean, that for me, like similar journey where like I started off doing some kind of rock stuff, some singer-songwriter stuff. But then once I learned production, because I was trying to record my songs, I started to, get into the world of like more electronic stuff, not just rock, not just like singer-songwritery stuff, but more of the stuff I'm doing now. So that's cool. Similar trajectory over here. I wonder, what did you want to talk about today?
I wanted to talk about your animation. Like, that is just the coolest stuff to me.
Oh, dope.
I loved your animation. First off, I don't know if it's secret sauce or anything, or you plan to make a video, but is there a chance you could let us know what you use?
You're talking about the animation I showed off today here on stream?
Yeah.
Well, that was entirely created by somebody who is in chat right now, a really fantastic artist named Miss Nadia, and she also did the animation you see at the beginning of the stream of the producers on the rooftops and stuff. She also did that. So like I guess the lesson there, and I'm just going to tag at Miss Nadia in chat real quick. And Miss Nadia, you can share like your socials and stuff in chat. I should be able to approve it. In fact, let me do this really quick. What I was going to say is add as a mod. If I add you as a mod, Miss Nadia, you should be good. What I was going to say is, for you, like as a musician, and for anybody out there as a musician, it can be hard to do literally everything. So previously, with a lot of my album art, I would like basically be taking pictures on my phone and trying to do like a little bit of like graphic design around it, like throw a title on it, etc. And that's fine. That worked out. And my reasoning for that is like, we can't do everything. So I got to figure out something that I can do that also looks good. But then now that I'm able to give like a little bit of budget to things, like I definitely can't do animations. I can't do illustrations like a lot of artists can do either. But somebody like Miss Nadia can, and being able to put a budget towards that and to spend some money on some good art, because like you just said, like that animation was dope, like it is worth it, like especially for this project where it's like this song got 1 million plays, people love this song, I really want to devote some stuff to it. Hiring an artist, man, like that's what it's all about. Or like finding artists that you love their style, like Miss Nadia, we worked together before, so I knew right away like that she would be a good fit for this track and doing the animation and the art for this track. Like finding other creatives to work with, man, like that's what it's all about.
Yeah, for real. Shout out to Miss Nadia though. Yeah,
Yes.
that's crazy. And yeah, it's important to find somebody that's able to put in as much time as you're putting into your thing, into all the other things that help, and
Yeah, well, if you think that's what we're all doing, right? Like we're all hardcore working on our music. Meanwhile, all these visual artists are hardcore working on like a gallery show, or like not even a gallery show, but like getting their stuff online or working with this brand or that brand. Like they're all working on stuff too. So like when we all come together, I'm putting all this effort into the music side of things. She's putting all the effort into the visual side of things. It makes for like one whole great work of art,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
For real, you're onto something there.
Yeah. So think about it. Like, think about it. Just as much as we spend money on gear and like put budget towards that, think about like, okay, what's the budget to really do? Like you don't have to do it for every release, but if you got that one album that you're putting together, or that one EP, or even that one single that you're like, damn, this is my best work yet. Combine that with somebody else's best work, like a visual artist, like how put a little budget towards it, or like save up a little bit, come up with some kind of deal where you can work together. I think it's worth it for sure.
Yeah, I hear that. That's awesome. That's definitely going to be the next big thing. Forget buying another beat pad.
Right. Exactly. Or even like, what gear do you have that you don't even use anymore that you could sell on Craigslist, sell on eBay, whatever. And then whatever you make from that, say like, okay, hey, I can spend this much on an artist to put together the artwork for this thing.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, you got to find every last possibility you can and make it work.
Exactly. Totally, man. That's the deal. And shout out Miss Nadia once again. And shout out to you, David. Thank you so much for calling in.
Absolutely, man. You're a rock star, bro.
All right, later. Have a good one. All right, awesome. Thank you for that first call in, David. We got a few more people in the waiting room. So see, that wasn't so bad, chat. Chat, how do you feel about the switching cameras, the auto switching? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Is it too distracting? Would love to hear from you in the chat. I think it probably makes the visual a little more interesting, but we'll see. Ms. Nadia, you're a mod now, so if you could drop at least like a link to your Instagram in the chat, that would be awesome, so people can go follow you. That would be cool. What's up, Manuel? Hello. I saw some other stuff popping up in the chat. I got Brian up on deck as our next caller, so I'll bring Brian in next. But I will double check. I will look at the text Q&A as well, because I have to switch pages for that. So let me double check on questions. Do you know about the Digitech Studio Vocalist X? It's an amazing voice harmony processor used multiple times by Daft Punk and Eiffel 65. That's from Denny's in the chat. I have not heard of that. Most of my vocal processing stuff I do live, through Ableton Live. It's just easier than buying a dedicated piece of hardware. But sometimes it is cool to have a dedicated piece of hardware. Dustin has a question. Using DAW VST in your main DAW benefits? In my case, it's MPC2 software in Ableton. Is there any reason to do this in your workflow? Just trying to find creative uses or things I'm missing. For me, in Ableton Live, there's really not a lot missing. So I don't ever really find the need. And when I say not a lot of things missing, I mean like functionally. Like if I need to loop things, I can loop things. If I need to perform, I can perform. If I need to just lay out tracks, I can just lay out tracks. So I don't really, like I showcased it in the Machine stream where it's like bringing in Machine as a VST into Ableton Live, like basically makes no sense. I did see somebody comment, or maybe it was during the stream, say like, "Oh, I put Machine on individual tracks, so each part is on a different track." And it's like, yeah, that's one way, but that's so like roundabout, and it's so like one extra step that is kind of redundant. If it works for you, it works for you, but like for me, that's not for me. All right, I'll get back to those text questions in a second. So if you cannot call into the live stream, you can drop them in the Q&A. So let's take another call. Brian is up next. Dustin says, thanks. I am trying to use it and it feels redundant so far. I mean, the thing about it is solve a problem with the things that you're doing. Like, don't do stuff in music production. Don't add something to your DAW for the sake of adding something. Do something because there's a problem you're trying to solve. Otherwise, you're going to be doing redundant things. And it's going to be kind of a waste of your time where you could have just been making music, you know? There should be a reason for doing everything. All right, Brian, we're getting you in here. Let me make sure it's all set. You're connecting via audio. Adam says, legend. Thank you. I appreciate that. Zello says, good music bro. Hey, Brian, thank you for joining the stream. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. I don't know if you have audio issues. If you can hear my sound.
I can hear you totally fine.
Awesome, man. Well, yeah, thank you. I really appreciate your channel. And as a content creator, it's really been helpful the way you create your content and you make it really easy to consume. I know in the music production space, sometimes it gets super technical and people like me get lost in the weeds. But yeah, I love your work, man.
I appreciate that. I mean, that's the mission for me in the channel. Like, you are right that it gets like way too technical at some points. And sometimes people think they're making stuff for beginners, but they're starting on chapter 11 of a book where the reader needed to read the introduction to the book first. The reader needed to check out the back cover of the book before they got to chapter 11. You know what I mean? So it's very intentional. So what kind of music you make, man? What do you get into?
Well, I think I may be an outlier here, and I think I have more of a philosophical question.
Sure.
I started producing music in college back in 2005. Even before then, I got a drum machine in like 2004. So I'm probably a little bit older than most of the audience here. I started out with like hip hop beats and exploring a little bit of electronic music. But I've always struggled, man. And I've always struggled with melodies and like really completing songs. And so life happened, right? Had a family, had to focus on my job. And a couple of times throughout my life, I've told myself, you know what, just you need to give up on music. It didn't work out and you need to focus on these other things. But it's like every other day, man, like I have a burning desire inside of me to create music and it doesn't want to go away. And I don't know, I just think maybe the universe is telling me to pick it back up. But I'm still struggling, man. Like, I don't know why nothing clicks or connects for me. Like they said, your videos are awesome and I do get some guidance, but when I sit in front of my keyboard and like I try and put melodies together, I feel like I'm wasting time for 30 minutes and then I just forget it and log off.
Sure. I mean, it's kind of telling with how you started telling this story where you talked about, you know, life happens and you decided to sort of just give up on music. You said, oh, it's not happening, like it's over. It's like, I think from there, what that tells me is that there's some kind of expectation you have or had that being successful in music or doing music means that you have to, I don't know, sell 1,000 records or like, you know, get some kind of attention from it, which it doesn't actually have to mean that at all. Because what it sounds like to me is you just have this internal burning desire to make music. And you said it's like the universe telling you should get back into it. But I think it's your gut. It's like your emotions telling you you want to get back into it. You know, like you for sure, from what you just told me, want to be doing music and want to be making music. And then that hang up that you get when you sit down and you try to make melodies, it could come from a couple things. Like it could come from your abilities. Like, I don't know if you've watched the music theory series, but we kind of talk about music. We talk about theory in that, and the fundamentals of that are really important for understanding melodies and things like that. But On the other side of it is, I wonder how much of it is you sit down to write a melody or make some music and it doesn't turn out as good as who you aspire to be, or it doesn't turn out as good as the people that you love listening to.
Hmm.
And that happens to all of us, and that's not a good enough reason to stop. The mindset you have to be in is that you're going to have to write a bunch of bad music before you start writing good music. You're never going to be as good. Like if you just start right now after having taken a long break, you've got some skills already, but you'll never be able to you'll not be able to write something in this moment now that's as good as a person you aspire to be that's been like doing it nonstop for 10, 15, 20 years. That's not a realistic expectation to put on yourself, right? So it's about the expectations you sit down with. Like, first of all, music, like for me with painting, like painting doesn't matter. I'm just sitting down and painting. Nobody ever has to see it. If I feel good about my painting, I'll share it, but I'm not like trying to sell myself as a painter. I'm not trying to fill galleries or anything like that. So it's very freeing. So if you start back into music with that similar mindset where it's like, hey, I'm just sitting down and making stuff for the pure act of sitting down and making music because it fulfills my soul. If you do that, I think you'll be 10 times happier than sitting down and trying to write the perfect melody. Does that make sense? Does any of that resonate?
Yeah, no, I mean, it totally makes sense. And just so you understand where I'm coming from, like for me, it's not about money. It's not about like getting exposure. Like I really don't care who listens to whatever music I create. It's mainly for me. And so that hasn't really been a factor. But I think to your point about really just maybe lowering my own bar, because in my day job, I'm a UX designer and I have a high standard there. But I think
Sure.
from the music side, I have 10,000 hours in design. I can do that with my eyes
Right.
closed, but music, I'm still on that beginner stage. And so I need to really relax my standards a little bit, if you will.
Yeah, and since you already have like an art discipline, like that you said you have 10,000 hours in, that's an amazing perspective to have because what you should do is think about the very first UX designs that you ever did. You should visualize
Yeah.
those in your mind and
Yeah.
then realize that, okay, the music you make comparatively is going to be like those. It's not going to be like the current work that you're doing in UX design. It's not going to be that expert level. And then like
Yeah.
a pragmatic thing too, to pull it down to earth rather than just up in the philosophical level is listen to one or two songs that you're like, man, I love this melody, and listen to them and then try to learn, like use your ears and try to learn that melody or see if you can find that melody notated somewhere on the internet, play along with
Hmm.
it on the keyboard, or see if you can record it out into the MIDI piano roll and look at it and like kind of analyze it like you would with UX design. If you open an app and it's got like great UX, like you're like probably as a designer yourself reverse engineering what makes it like that, right? Like you're
Yeah.
you're probably like, oh, they did this and they did that and that's how this all
Mm.
works. You can do that same level of analysis with music and melody. Like it's just it can be broken down on a similar technical level. So like
Hmm.
try that and you'll be like, okay, this melody works well because it's got, oh, not a lot of movement at the beginning. It's got a large leap. It goes da da. And then there's a lot of movement later. It's like, okay, let me try to write a similar melody that uses the same techniques and then work with it from there. That's how it all goes down, like analyzing and being deliberate about what you actually like about those melodies so that when you sit down to do a melody, it's not just like, you're sitting at a blank page and you have actually no idea what you want to do. And so you just end up stumbling around. And like you said, it doesn't sound as good as you want it to, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome advice, man. Thank you. I have so many questions, but I know we don't have all day. And I think just hearing from someone like an expert from you really helps put it into perspective because I've never had the opportunity to talk to anyone in the production space. So thank you again.
Hey, fantastic. We should do this more often. And I appreciate you calling in. And of course, like this chat, we're live every Thursday. So like, even if I'm doing something random, making beats, checking out gear, whatever, pop into the chat and talk to people and chat about things because it's a great way to connect with other people and it seems like in chat that other people have wanted to hear similar advice. So they're probably having the same thoughts as you. So like, it's a whole community, man. Don't just wait for a call and show. You can join the conversation anytime.
Awesome. Thank you again, man, for everything.
Thanks so much, Brian. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Another great call from Brian. Yes, do you all resonate with that? So we got Joseph McCaffrey in chat, gold badge and everything. Wants to know the magic behind who's doing the switching. I think you need a producer and a switcher. Could be true. The switcher is auto switching. There is an auto switch function, which I just kind of got into how to do it. I don't know if it's like too frequent or too weird or whatever. We do have a Q&A chat for people who can't call in. I do see a few more callers in the waiting room, so thank you. Karina, you're going to be up next, so just be ready for that. I figure I'll take some text questions while we're here. Let me jump into the questions tab and see what people are asking. Joseph Costanzo asks, what advice would you give for creating rhythm? That's a very general, broad question. You should study rhythms that you like and figure out what makes them happen. Similar advice that I gave to Brian just now about melody. Widget Wolf TV says, say you traveled back in time to meet your younger self just starting out. What advice would you give yourself for starting and lessons about what you've done you'd do differently? That's a big question. Travel back in time, meet younger self. I think probably I had beginner's delusions at the beginning where of course, when you're a beginner, when you make your first thing, sometimes you're like, damn, I never made something like that before. This is amazing. So I was very kind of proud of myself for making stuff, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But I think I was probably a little bit too proud of myself, I was probably a little too hyped. In perspective of things I had previously made, what I was making was good. But in perspective of things everybody else was making or things that I could make now, it was not necessarily good. So I should have been probably a bit more humble when I was much, much younger and been excited for the things that I was making for my personal progress, but also put them into better perspective of where I'm headed or how it could potentially be better. I hope that makes sense. Being a bit more humble, not being, and having the perspective that your work, whatever you're making, no matter what stage you're at, your work sits in a canon of work, not just of your work, but of everybody else who's making music in that genre, in that space, at that time, all those things, right? There's a humbleness there that we should all have. You should go confidently, you should be happy with your progress, but you should have the humbleness to say, I'm going to do better 1 year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And there are people doing better right now. So don't have that beginner's mindset of, there's two beginner's mindsets. Dang, everything I have sucks. Don't have that mindset, but also don't have the mindset of, I'm the best in the world because I just made my first song. You can have that personally, but Karina is up next. Thank you all. Reminder that you can call in via Zoom. I would love to hear from you. I would love to answer your question, get you to call in. That Zoom link is here. You can see it's not a big scary thing. It's a great time to get into the conversation, provide great perspective, and hear from different voices. Karina, what's up?
Oh God. Yeah. Oh,
you're
God,
live. You're on the air. Welcome.
Yeah. It's a little nerve-wracking, but yeah.
Don't be afraid. It's not a huge deal. Welcome to the show.
Hi, hello. First of all, there's a big thank you from me to you because literally I just recently got myself into my first DAW, which is Ableton Live.
Nice.
After over 10 years of being in the music, for myself with my passion and hobbies and stuff like that, I still was too scared, I may say, to do something more with it.
Sure.
And I just got my first interface and stuff like that. I decided to maybe try to record something for myself. And then I started to go into a DAW, which was a pretty hard thing for me to do because we with computers, we do not like each other. And literally like few days into me having Ableton, I saw your video popped into my like YouTube main page, and it was a lifesaver.
Amazing.
Literal lifesaver, because it helped me so goddamn much with like starting everything
I'm so happy to hear
inside
that.
the dark.
Like, yeah, I made the video. You can consider I made this series literally for you and everybody like you, because like I know how intimidating it is, how like you could have this great hope to make your own music, right? And then you open up this program, and even if you're technologically challenged, like you said, you and computers are always fighting, you and technology, like it's that much harder, you know? So there is a path forward. So I'm really glad that the series helped you.
Yeah, that's actually an amazing work, so keep up.
Thank you.
It is amazing, and it is helping a lot.
Thank you.
So yeah, actually when it comes to Ableton, that was also the thing that I actually wanted to ask, if you may be like planning to add something about maybe some adding vocals in Ableton, how to like kind of blend them in a little bit better, because I'm actually like recording some vocals for myself and like live instruments, stuff like this, but I'm struggling a lot with like kind of blending that vocal so it sits right.
Sure.
Within the mix.
I think like two things right off the bat to give some like just straight up advice for vocals. Like compression. Like, are you doing like a song? Like it's a song, like you're singing a song, like a top line melody?
Yeah.
Okay. So like I would say, because sometimes I put vocals in my song and it's just like ambient stuff or whatever. So like that this is different from that. But I would say the number one thing for vocals, especially when people submit music for the feedback streams, I always get a little worried when it has vocals on it, because when vocals are bad, it is very obvious that they are bad. Like they are front and center, and they're usually happening for the whole song. And it's like, okay, now this bad thing is happening the whole time. So to avoid that, the two major things I would recommend anybody do if you're recording vocals, if you're making a song, number one is like pitch correction. Unless you're like this perfect pitch singer and like you've been like singing all your life, or you're just like ultra naturally talented, even if you are those things, I would definitely recommend using some type of pitch correction. Not to be like necessarily like T-Pain, though that hard auto-tune, like Cher style auto-tune is useful sometimes and is a stylistic choice, but just subtle pitch correction that locks in your pitch is something that will go a long way, because every song that you hear on the radio, every song that you listen to, I can almost guarantee 99.9%, if not 100% of them are using autotune, regardless of whether it is, I don't know. Any song that you're listening to is likely using autotune. Oh, regardless of if you think you can hear it or if you think it sounds natural. So the point there is not, oh, you're a bad singer, so put on autotune. The point there is everybody else is using autotune. So if your music is like has weird pitch stuff going on, then it's not going to sound in line with the stuff that everybody else is listening to. And hold that one thought, because I'm getting a call and it might be UPS who has failed to deliver my package like 18 times. Oh, no, never mind. They stopped calling me. Peace and love to UPS. Nope. All right. Anyway, sorry about that. My phone was popping off. So does that make sense? Like auto-tune, pitch correction, number one. The second thing is compression. Compression goes a long way, because we're singing and our pitch can be variable, but also like our dynamics can be variable, and they usually are. You can go from singing really softly to having a big chorus where you're going like full voice. And in an amateur production, those things being very different dynamically sound amateur, because most of the professional recordings you listen to have a compressed vocal where the soft parts of you singing and the loud parts of you singing are much closer in level, not in the performance. You're still performing with dynamics, But in the recording, we want to shrink the difference between those dynamics. And in terms of blending, that's going to help you a lot because you're not going to have loud vocals poking out with soft vocals. Oh, I can't hear them over my instrumental track. So compression and pitch correction are huge. Two huge things that I think every vocalist, if you're recording vocals at home, should definitely invest in some good plugins that, well, you don't need to invest in a compressor plugin, use the Ableton Live default compressor, but a pitch correction plugin, like invest in a decent one. I use Waves real-time tuning. It does pretty well. You can use things like Melodyne as well, but pitch correction and compression.
I do have a Melodyne, but I still did not figure out how to use it.
Yeah, so that's the thing is like Melodyne is good. If you already have it, like maybe do a deep dive and just learn how to use it because it is a fantastic tool, and many of the pros are using Melodyne. The reason that I use a real-time auto-tune plugin like the Waves one is because it's just easier to just throw on a track and have it be just automatically pitch corrected. But you have less control. So if you have moments where it sounds a little too robotic or the pitch correction isn't quite working correctly, you don't have as much control as Melodyne. Usually I've been able to get away with it, but if vocals are going to be a big part of what you're doing, learning Melodyne and being able to just literally move notes around and put them on the right key and change transitional sounds and everything, it's a very useful tool. So if you want to be fast and quick and efficient, use like a real-time auto-tune thing like Antares has one or Waves. Or if you want to really make this a big part of your thing, invest the time and learn Melodyne because that is a huge tool for you as a vocalist.
That is a pretty good advice.
Yeah. I mean, it's the number one thing that will separate like an amateur recording from it's just it's like a standard, right? Like there's certain things in music where it's like, okay, they made that choice, but like if your vocals are just straight up out of tune, even just subtly out of tune, it is very noticeable to everybody listening to your song.
Like even sometimes when you're just singing it, it's hard to like hit every single note. Sometimes your voice aches and it's sad to like cut the whole audio to like switch it up with something else. So that's a good thing to maybe try to learn that Melodyne to correct that within a program without like cutting it.
Yeah.
Chopping it.
And also one of the realities too is you have to think of singing, if it's going to be a big part of what you do, as a skill, like just like Ableton Live, just like everything else you've done in music, where it's like, if you want to be a singer or if you really do want to write songs and record songs, singing is something you have to spend time training on. Like you have to warm up and you should practice all those things. Sometimes we just like to, because it's with singing, like, oh, it's a built-in instrument, right? I don't have to go take lessons. I have it built into me. Like I don't have to go buy a guitar and then take lessons. I can make sound already with my mouth. And it's like, yeah, but the singers you listen to probably have gone through some training, So think about that.
Yeah, I've been like doing that for like 10 years.
Oh, amazing.
Myself. Yeah, and I felt finally the courage to try to like do it. I finally wrote some stuff of my own, and I'm finally getting myself to record it and maybe finally do something with that. And yeah, that's a big step for me.
Yes, and if you've already got training, you're ahead of the game.
Yeah, so as I said, that Ableton tutorials of yours was like such a huge deal breaker for me. It just made me like slip into that door so much easier, because I was so afraid that I would get discouraged easily with like struggling with something that I'm not good at, which is like computer stuff,
right? And
trying to put it to something that I love, and I've been doing it for over half of my life because I'm 21. I've been doing it for over 10 years, and I was so scared that it will like slowly.
But you are still like you are like, even though you've been doing it for 10 years, like you've got so much more time to get, like you're going to be better in another 10 years. I know it's hard to imagine like a decade from now, but like you're still going to be better even though you spent so much time. So like don't have the perspective of, oh, I've been doing this for 10 years, I should already blah, blah, blah. Be like excited for what you're going to get better at in the next 10 years. So that 10 years from now, you're like, damn, I've been writing and recording songs for 10 years now. Like and you'll be like frustrated about the next thing, but that's like the life of an artist, right? That's the life.
That's right. Like, always growing.
Yes.
Always growing.
I'm going to drop a link to a stream from our Beattober stream if you haven't seen it, but it was when Claire Daltrick was writing a song live, and she was writing and recording a song live. And she's a great vocalist that works in Ableton Live. But I'm just going to drop that link in the stream chat right now. I think that's actually a link to the playlist. But it's like part 2 of the Beattober stream. Watch that and watch her process of like working in live and recording vocals. I think it'll be a cool thing just for you to see how she does it.
Thank you so much. I bet that it will, like, considering how much those Ableton series helped, I think I might have some nice lecture.
Absolutely. No. Karina, it was great talking to you. Like, we can't wait to hear your first song.
That's very nice. I hope I will be able to put it out like as soon as I will figure out that blending the vocal in the stuff.
Keep working on it and set yourself like a date for a goal, because you could spend forever trying to perfect it. But like, let's see if you can set a date where you can get it to the best that it can be.
Thank you so much once again. Like, it helps a lot.
I appreciate it, Karina. Thank you for calling in. Have a good one. Great call. Yes, a great call. That vocal stuff it's huge. A lot of people try to make music with vocals. I forgot to turn a light on today. My skull light is not even on. Come on, y'all. You're supposed to tell me when I forget these things. Come on. The set is all looking half baked. All right, we got a few more people in the waiting room. I want to check the chat and make sure I'm keeping up with you all with your questions. We got Pick, Salah, and Jack. Pick is going to be up next. Is that Piccolo Black in the waiting room? Or is it somebody else named Pick? I must know. Hey, what's up, Rashane? Nice to see you. I'm not keeping up. Sarah, the instrumentalist, in the chat. Sarah, if you want to call in, I'll bump you up in the priority. Would love to chat with you live, of course. But let me get Piccolo Black in here first, and we can chop it up and chat. Let's see. Okay, I was gonna look at the Q&A chat. Wish YouTube would let me see both at the same time. I think I've pretty much covered the text questions. Piccolo Black, what up?
Yo, that's
yes,
good.
It's working. All right. Thank you for joining the stream. How are you?
Good, thanks. And yourself?
I am doing well. Happy to be here chatting with the community. What do you want to talk about today? You want to give people the lay of the land? What kind of music you make? What kind of gear you're rocking? All that good stuff?
I don't. I make. I don't know what kind of music I make. I make a lot of instrumentals and stuff. I don't know.
Really dope beats.
I make beats. Yeah.
Who, if you put your music on, if your music had to go in the library next to a bunch of other music, like what shelf would it be on? Who else would be on that shelf?
That's. I don't want to sound cringe. Probably someone like James Blake, or on one day, but another day it could be someone like Grimes or someone else. I don't know.
For sure. Okay, that gives us some perspective. Well, what do you want to chat about today?
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I should be focusing on. I have a lot of people that rely on me, right? And I'm trying to make it in an industry that's very hard to make it in, and I'm very aware of how long it can take to get anywhere that you can be financially stable in. But I get these waves of me thinking maybe I should put music to the side and focus on my career, as in like making money and supporting the people that need me. And it's kind of hard because I know like if I stop now, then my peers are gonna, like, I could look forward 10 years from now, my peers will all be in the place that I was trying to get to, and I've just been like, damn, I shouldn't have given up. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, I have to be realistic about what's happening in the world, capitalism, and so on and so forth. So it's kind of where I'm at mentally right now.
I hear that. And I think a lot of people think the same exact thing. A lot of people do want to turn this into a career. But I think it's interesting that you automatically kind of separate the two. Like, should I continue music or should I go pursue a career? You know, like that is very telling to me. That kind of like is like you kind of gave yourself up there, because it's like that tells me you're kind of not looking at music from a career perspective, which,
well,
go ahead.
I didn't give you enough context, I
sure,
guess.
Give me more.
So yeah, so like I do look at it as a career, like, but the thing is that I'm kind of like the saying of burning the candle at both ends.
Yep.
Where like I'm doing both, like I'm doing my 9 to 5 and I'm doing like life, and then I'm also doing music, like when like literally just everything's just happening like boom, 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 day's over, day begins. And and at some point I just feel so burnt out, and like I don't feel like I could progress as much as I could have if I put 100% into one of those lanes. Do you see what I'm saying?
For sure, right? Like if you spend, just making up numbers, 5 hours on one thing, 5 hours on another thing, and 5 hours on a third thing, you're not going to progress as fast than if you spent 15 hours on just one of those things, right? Like I totally hear that. But I do think, like, for people like you, and this is how I see myself, like I have a burning desire to be a musician, to make music, to be an artist. And that sort of supersedes any kind of technical or mathematical analysis in that vein, right? So like when I was working a full-time job and starting this channel and trying to be a musician at the same time, there were things that it was possible for me to do, and there were things that it was not possible for me to do, like just based on how much time I had and how much mental energy I had. Streaming and making as many videos as I make now was not possible back then, but it's possible now. But I was still doing things to set myself up for that future self. Like you talk about the you 10 years from now, or your friends, your peers 10 years from now, seeing that out. Right now, you don't have to be doing what you would be doing 10 years from now to get there. But right now, you should be planting the seeds and moving in the direction. So like you're going to have to do some compromising when it comes to your time. I don't think it's something where you should give yourself giving up as an option. I think it is possible to do both at the same time, to have a career that's bringing in money that you need to survive in, capitalist organization of the economy. But I think it's also possible to take all the extra time and to start planting seeds and to start even pursuing some things that can be generating revenue for you as a part of your music, as a part of your art, that can start replacing some of the hours that are, being taken up by your job. If you work a 40-hour-a-week job, if you can now make, let's say, maybe now with music, you can make the equivalent money to 5 hours of working at your 40-hour-a-week job. Well, now you can work 35 hours at your full-time job. Then if you can make the equivalent money to 10 hours at your 35-hour-a-week job or your 40-hour-a-week job, now you can make 30. You can only work 30 hours and you can put those 10 more hours into music. And it's just like a constant chipping away, constant building. But to do that, you have to be deliberate about what pathways you are taking with music. Like you have to be laser focused on what you want to be, how you wanting to be earning revenue as a musician and as an artist. There's like a dozen ways to do that. Like, Did you watch the career members workshop that we did, like building a career in music?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say also that these workshops have been really helpful.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Thank you for saying that. So like folks that don't know in the chat, for members, we have these in-depth members only workshops, and one of them is on building a career in music. And that one is really important to this question because oh gosh, I opened up the stream and I could hear myself and that was terrifying. But I was going to say, that one is really important because I talk about two things: figuring out the avenues, figuring out the revenue streams that you want to pursue in music, and two, time management, which is so important for everybody. You should get laser focused on those things and figure out how much time you actually have in consideration of the fact that you're going to have to work to earn revenue, work another job unrelated to earn revenue. And then how much time do you have left in relation to what's going to bring the most return? Like, you want to be making music, but what can you be doing with that music? What can you be doing with your skills you've developed from making music that's going to bring a return? Like, whether it's licensing, whether it's also teaching, whether it is doing sync placements, like I said, licensing, or like streams, whether it's like being laser focused on getting put on playlists with those artists that you say you belong on the same shelf. Those are all things that you can be pursuing in the part-time position, in the time away from your full-time job. It's not easy. Yeah. It is going to make you feel sometimes burnt out. It is going to be tiring, but do you see yourself making the decision and saying, well, I'm just going to go work my 40-hour-a-week job, and then on the weekends and nights, I'll just watch Netflix with my significant other, or I'll just make dinner, or I'll just mow the lawn. Like, if you want to commit to that kind of like simple life, that is also totally fine. But if you want to make the deliberate choice to pursue an art, part of this is like, Sarah, the instrumentalist, just said in chat, you got to be committed, is committing to that. And like, yes, it's going to be hard work. Yes, you're going to have to come home and do more work after you just worked all day. But eventually, like I said, it's the chipping away. You should be planting seeds that are like deliberately pointing you towards a ways to make it your lifestyle and your work. That was, for me, 100% always a laser focus. I'm going to be a musician. I'm going to go to school for music. I don't quite know which lane I want to go into, but I'm going to try. At the beginning, it was like, let me try all these different lanes. Let me see what works. Oh, teaching is giving me a lot of money right now. Let me put a lot of eggs in that basket for a while, but let me also build up this other thing on the other side. And then as they start to catch up to each other, then you get to make decisions. Oh, let me go full speed ahead in this lane, but let me start planting seeds in this other one and see where that goes in a year, 2 years, 3 years. Like, that's the mentality. It's like constantly pursuing the lanes. Oh, something's hot, something's working. Let's go a little harder on that. Build up a skill, build up some revenue in that, while also pursuing the secondary thing at the same time and letting it and hoping that it catches up, or being analytical and being like, that's not actually bringing in any revenue and I'm putting in a ton of time to it, so I have to shift. So like, I think what you were talking about, where you were like feeling burnt out, you're feeling like you're not progressing, to me that says you got to start doing something different. Because if you just do the same thing over and over again, you might have gotten good at doing something and you might have had a little bit of success in something, but if you just continue to do that and you're not seeing more results, or you're not seeing growth, that means you got to do something different. That means like doing the same thing over and over again isn't bringing different results as we would expect, Yeah.
I'm kind of where like at that point right now where I'm trying to figure out what works. I've been like, putting out quite a bit of content on all the platforms and just trying to see what sticks and what works right now. And I think when I get a bit more of a streamlined idea of what I really want to do, I'll probably be in a better place mentally as well.
It's a streamlined idea, but it's also like organizing those from dream ideas to ideas you can execute today, because those aren't always the same thing. So if you end up coming up with like a dream idea, oh, I'd like to be like Kenny Beats and he produces for all these artists or something like that. I like to be working with all these artists. There's seeds that you can plant to get there. You can't get there today, but there's things you can start doing. There's seeds that you can start planting to get there. And you can look at the people that are doing the thing you want to do and just like intensely research them. Like listen to every podcast they've been on, stalk all their social media and scroll back 5 years to see what they were doing 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and figure out like and draw, like connect the dots, like those detective movies where it's like a bulletin board and there's pins on the wall and there's red string, right? Like you got to do that for everybody that's doing what you want to be doing someday. If you do that, then you get to the 5 years before, you get to the 10 years before your dream, which is where you're at right now. And then you figure out steps to do what you need to do right now, not just talk about like where you want to be in 5 or 10 years. Like you can't hold yourself to that same standard. You have to build a foundation. So like that will help for sure. Just like doing a forensic analysis of where these people are and how they got there. It'll give you more of a picture. And you can use your brain and your knowledge to say like, okay, they did this 5 or 10 years ago. The music industry is a little different now, but this that they were doing 10 years ago is it the equivalent to this now. So I'll pursue that, you know? But here's a question for you. Like what's bringing you most success in music now? Like what's the hottest iron in the fire currently for you?
I don't know. Cause like at one point it was, I was doing pretty well in the lo-fi genre, but I just didn't, my heart wasn't in it.
Of course.
So I kind of just stopped doing it. I still have some tracks I need to release actually, but also I think that gave me the opportunity to work with more people wanting to work with me and just have me produce for them. So I'd say just the music production in general is giving me the most success so far.
And is your heart in that? You feel like the passion?
100%. Yeah. Like that's all I want to do really.
That's the thing, then. Like you just articulated it perfectly. So like you're telling me like 100% your heart is in like producing for artists, working with artists, things like that.
Yeah.
And you're already also doing it.
Yeah.
So you got to find a way to scream from every single rooftop that you're doing this and if the work is something you're proud of, showing people like, this is what I can do. This is what we're doing. This is what we're building. Everybody look at this. This is who I am. Like, I feel like a lot of it for you is like marketing. You want to work with more artists. Artists have to know who you are. Artists have to be able to find you. Artists need to be able to hear a song that you produced, check the credits on Spotify, Google, put your name on Instagram, like type your name into Instagram and find a page. And when they land on that page, they should be like, oh shit, this dude is fire.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And that's like, you know, a whole process, like building yourself up, but like that will increase your visibility. It's the trajectory you literally want to be on. You just said you want to be on it, and it's something you're already doing. So you like, it's already there. You know what I mean? Like it's already happening. So, and this is important. Sometimes it's hard to pull yourself out and see like, oh, this is kind of already happening. Like I'm already on this road. So so like, hopefully this conversation is helpful to hear me say that from an outside perspective. Like, oh, you're already doing the thing that you like 100% love and 100% want to be doing. Like now it's just like, okay, let's switch gears. Let's put pedal to the metal a little bit more.
Yeah, go even harder.
Yeah, go even harder, but figure out the new things you need to be doing, not just the same things that you've been doing, the things that are gonna, you know, be the catalyst for progress, be the catalyst of you being able to move forward in that.
Yeah.
You got it though. You told me you're not one of these callers or like one of these people I see in my comments that like don't know what they want to be doing and I don't know what kind of music I want to make. Can I make 5 different genres, whatever. You're telling me like you know exactly what you want to do. I've heard your music. Your music has a very distinct, awesome sound.
Thank you.
Like take that. Like that alone is like you having a huge advantage. Take that and run with it. And like get a notebook, write this shit down. Like, here's what I want to be doing in 2023. Just the act of writing it down, even if you never revisit the note page again, it sets like this intention in your brain where it's like something you pursue. I have stuff like that. I have wrote stuff down in notebooks, never looked back on it until maybe a year later and looked and be like, oh shit, this thing that I really aspired to do, I just did. And it's like mind blowing because it's like, oh, I didn't make a checklist of how I was going to get there. I simply like wrote down the goal, and that just became embedded in things that I was doing every single day as a musician, as an artist. And by way of that, by way of me just planting that seed and I guess like the momentum going forward, it got accomplished, right? It's not magic, but it's like the act of being intentional, I guess.
All right, I'm going to do that right after this call then. Sure.
Do it right now, my friend. Thank you so much for calling in. That was like a really important call. I'm glad you called in.
Thanks for the advice.
Have a good one. Whew, that was a big one, chat. What do you think about that? We got some comments about goal setting. What helped me on making progress? This is from Eric in chat. What helped me on making progress is setting smart-based goals, daily, weekly, monthly, and strategic long-term. Time Francis. I don't know why it says that. But yeah, smart goals. I don't follow so much of a system like that. For me, sometimes systems can be the opposite of motivating. And if I feel like I'm locked in a system, I kind of just want to break it. But at least having a North Star is important. Having a North Star vision of this is where I'm going. You don't quite know what the path is going to be, but at least you're heading in a direction. And it might shift, you know? We got more callers. I'm coming. 3 more callers in the waiting room. If you do want to get a call in, you've got to call in now. Use the link at the top of the chat. It's pinned. It's a Zoom link. If you don't call in now, your call might not be got to. So I do encourage you, if you have a burning question, don't be afraid. Jump in the calls. I'll take a few more. There's a question in the chat, and Salah, you're going to be up next. Salah. This question in the text chat from Treble VT. Thoughts on stealing chords? Of course, not directly copying someone's work, but incorporating ideas you've enjoyed from others. How much of that is okay? 100% of it is okay. And that is literally how music works. I encourage you all to stay off like Reddit and forums and things like that, unless you're seeking like specific technical help, but stay out of the rooms where it's just a bunch of amateurs having a conversation, because that's generally one of the main conversations that they're all having. Instead of like going and making music, instead of paying attention to what professionals in the field are doing, they're like arguing over the morality over something that's like already happening and something that's already common practice. I mean, the number one legal perspective, well, not number one, but the legal perspective on this is you can't copyright a chord progression. So you can literally go listen to any Beyonce, Rihanna, any Paramore, whatever, Justin Bieber song you want. Analyze the chord progression, and then you can go write a song with that exact same chord progression. Doesn't matter. You cannot get sued. You get sued if you copy things like the melody or the lyrics, stuff like that. But chord progression cannot be copyrighted. Literally go and steal your favorite song's chord progression and write a song using that chord progression. Nothing can happen, and that's totally fine. And you know the magic is 90% of people are going to have no idea that you took that chord progression from your favorite song. So they did write stealing in quotes, and that, of course, is like the red flag. Like, you don't want to be in rooms where people are referring to this as stealing. It is not stealing. The idea of incorporating ideas you've enjoyed from others, that's literally how music making works. Like, you're going to take your perspective, your sound, and inject it, but you're also going to throw in a blender. This is like how you make original music. I like this K-pop song. I like this acoustic song. And I like this lo-fi house track. I'm going to take elements from each of those, put them in a blender. Suddenly I have something new, right? That's literally how music works. So, but the bigger lesson there is stay off the forums. Stay off the Reddits. Stay off all the places that it's just a bunch of amateurs, a bunch of people that have never actually succeeded in making something, that have no influence, that have no audience, that are just people in their basement saying, well, I think Justin Bieber's wrong because he used this chord progression from this artist. And nobody cares. Nobody at the professional level is talking about this. And if you want to move from the amateur level to the professional level, you have to leave the amateur rooms behind, unfortunately. Very, very, very important. A lot of people wasting their time on conversations in the forums or even in my comment section. Not like the good conversations that we have in the comments, but like a lot of people just like debating over like this sample or this or that. It's like, bro, like I'm busy, like I'm making stuff, like nobody's paying attention to you. And why are you also like so engaged in whatever like little nitpicky topic you're engaged in? Like go make something. All right, Salah is coming into the chat. Salah, make sure you mute the stream. Make sure you enable your audio input device. We'll bring you in here via audio. Let's get it. We're waiting for Salah to connect. What's up? Am I saying your name correctly? Salah.
Hey, my name's Solay.
Solay, darn it. No matter how I try to say something, the first time I say it, it'll be completely wrong. Solay, thank you for joining.
No worries, no worries. Yeah, I've been longtime fan of your channel. I got started looking at the Ableton tutorials, and after 1 year of production, I was able to score like a theater sound design gig. Love to make music for like video games in the future. It's interesting seeing all the questions that pop up on here about like music career, especially the last one that came up too.
Totally.
I'm still figuring out myself where I want to take that music career.
Yep.
I ended up trying to do like my normal day job and go forward in that. And at the same time, like, I guess I'm drawing all those, doing all that investigative work you were mentioning earlier with finding my inspirations and like trying to nail down if do I want to be an independent artist? Do I want to work mostly with other people?
I think like, yeah. So I'll ask, what's your question?
My question is just looking for my text question was mostly like how has your learning perspective changed from when you were a beginner to now that you're seasoned?
Sure. Well, with that, I was talking about like being humbled and stuff, but like I want to go back to like some stuff you were talking about, like if I can shed some advice on this, because we're talking about careers and such. But one thing that I found actually, and I'm going to show this on my screen, you'll see it on a little bit of a delay, but I was kind of organizing my bookmarks the other day. And if you go into like your like Google Chrome or whatever browser you use bookmarks, like I've been using Google Chrome for like years, like over 10 years probably. And one of the things I found when I was organizing all these bookmarks is I have all these old bookmarks, and I have this folder called Jobs. So let me show this really quick. This folder called Jobs, and it is just this extensive list from all these different websites, from Craigslist, from different job posting sites, random stuff. Like there's video game companies on here. There's teaching gigs companies on here. You all can look at this list. Oh, I'm not actually showing it to you. Sorry. Here it is, chat. All right, this long ass list, different places, different types of jobs, different sources. So like similar to what Piccolo Black was talking about, similar to kind of what you're alluding to, kind of not knowing what you want to be doing. The unifying thing though is the thing you want to be doing is music related, right? Like, is that a crazy thing to say?
Pretty spot on.
Right. So right now, if you don't actually have, if you don't necessarily have a specific direction you want to go, like if you don't have a specific, like, oh, I definitely want to do music and games, or like if you're not hard set on one option, I would recommend casting the net super duper wide. Like, find any job. At first, of course, locally is the easiest way to find a job, right? Like the jobs around you, where you live, the jobs you can drive to, or maybe even jobs that do remote stuff. Now, maybe it's easier. But like searching, I was to compile that list of jobs, I was going on to just every possible job site, every potential gig site, and typing in music or musician or composer, and just saving literally every listing that I thought I could do or that I thought was appealing to me. A game composition job, cool. A teaching job, cool. A film scoring job, cool. And I'm just compiling it all into like a folder. But then like that helps you kind of filter down. Now you have a list of jobs that you think you could do or you think might interest you. But now like rank those. Which one of those would be like amazing? Which one of those would you jump on right away? Which one would you take and just be like kind of content and happy? Which one would you take and be like, oh, I could do this for 6 months or a year and see where it goes? Like start ranking those and then start figuring out what does it take to land those gigs and jobs? Like what are they looking for? What kind of resume do you need to have to get those jobs? Does that organization have a lower position? Like maybe you're not qualified for that position, but do they have a lower position available, an assistant version of that job title, an internship, whatever? What that's going to do is that's going to put you on a road. It's going to give you momentum. You're going to be moving forward. You're going to be doing something music related. And along the way, you're going to figure out if it's something you want to be doing. You're going to figure out if it's something you want to pursue hardcore. And that'll be very, very telling. Don't let the idea of like, well, there's so many options, I don't really know what to do. Don't let that hold you back. Just start doing something vaguely connected to music and let it guide you. Or at the very least, take whatever revenue you're going to earn from that and invest it into like a pursuit of something you want to be doing more. So like, one example I use all the time is like one of my first jobs, like as I was pursuing music, I had restaurant experience, right? I worked in a restaurant. I worked washing dishes, and then a job opened up running a cafe in a music store. So even though that's not me being a composer, that's not me making beats, that's not me doing music production, I could still go run this cafe in this music store that also did music lessons, and I could somehow be connected to music somehow, even though it's running a cafe. And that cafe also had open mic nights where I could perform. They also had like a little bit of an opening when they were like, oh, this one student wants to learn like Ableton Live, but we don't really have anybody to teach it. Can you teach it? Then I can jump in and start teaching that lesson. Suddenly that goes on my resume. So when I apply for the next job, I have a resume line item that says I've taught Ableton Live. So like, you see how like it's going to connect in ways you can't predict, but as long as you're putting yourself in the vicinity of what you're interested in, which is music, like you will be on the right path. You'll be able to ride that wave as far as you can go. It'll clarify your interests and what you're actually into, and it'll present opportunities that you can't necessarily predict. Just move forward in one direction. Try it.
Gotcha. Just trust in the process. Thank you.
Trust in the process. And you know what? There's a million opportunities out there. So you might, if say you want to compose for games, you might not be qualified or you might not be able to get a game composing gig right now, but you might be able to go compose music for an animator, like a student animator that has a thesis project that they're working on or something. And then at least you'll have scoring gig. You'll have something to add to a reel. You'll have something that you can show a game developer when they are hiring a freelance composer, or show an agency that hires composers, etc. Right? So like, it's all about steps. If the thing you really dream thing you want to do is not available to you right now, there's the rungs of the ladder well below that you can still get on.
That is super awesome. I'm actually trying to do some of those steps now, like volunteering, teaching Ableton producing, or like trying to learn or get acquainted with the instructors in my local area. The theater gig that I mentioned before, and then it's all just kind of free game.
Yep.
I definitely, we'll just keep riding the wave and see how it goes.
Yeah, ride the wave, and when opportunities present themselves, chase them down a little bit. If you're not sure if it's what you want to do, just check it out. Just check it out. Like you never know what doors it'll open or how you can spin things on your resume. Oh, I did this theater gig and it relates in this way. Like some of that is just marketing, but like take every opportunity, follow the leads, keep yourself open, search music on every single job site, apply to every single one that you think is interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, keep it up.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Yes. And we do have a whole members only workshop. Don't forget, everybody, in our members only streams playlist. So if you want to join and become a member, if you want like more of this deep dive stuff, becoming a member, and you can watch those workshops live. But if you become a member today, you can watch the previous 5 workshops that we did. Is it 5 or 6? I can't remember. But here, I'm going to put the link to the members only playlist in the chat. Even if you're not a member, you can look at that playlist and you can see what each thing is. Brian says, what is the workshop about? We've done several different workshops, but we have one that is focused on building a career, where we really deeply talk about some of the stuff that we've been talking about today. Jack, you're going to be up next, but chat, I really got to drink some water. Let me review the text questions. All right, I am caught up on text questions. If you do have a question in chat and you're not able to call in, go ahead and drop that into the text. Let me grab a little bit of water for a second, and we will get to Jack's call. We have 2 more calls. Jack, Sayso, Zello, and did I say Jack and Sayso, Zello? Okay, we'll get to Jack next. I'm going to grab some water. Give me one moment. Okay, I've got the water. And any other remaining questions before we get to these last 2 calls, you can let us know. Bigger Beats, don't ask questions that you can answer yourself. That's a practical question. You can use your judgment. I guess you can only practice one hand on a 25 key instrument, right? But you don't need me to tell you that. That's common sense. Some questions y'all got to answer for yourselves. With peace and love to Bigger Beats. Of course, you're welcome here, but like I want to see you succeed, so I don't want you to dwell on questions where the answer is kind of like self-evident. Jack, we're bringing you in. Connor, I saw that question twice. If you are remixing a song, can you get sued for using the same chord progression and vocals? Yes, you cannot use the vocals. You cannot steal from another person's music. But like I said, chord progressions are unique. Like a recipe, you can't copyright a recipe, I believe, right? So no, you cannot take somebody's existing song, Connor, and just copy it. Of course not. No pitching everything up or down. No. Okay, Jack, hello.
Yeah, hi.
How are you? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. What kind of music do you make, etc.?
I'm 16 years old and I'm from UK actually, and
Nice.
I've been making music. I've been like 4 or 3 years, I think, for like beats making morely, and now
Cool.
I more work with like I want to go more to like as a producer more than like beat making. So I've been just start like mixing the vocal or something, but it's really like confusing about like because the clarity in the song, right? Like after I help people to recording something like that, the clarity in it just messed me up. Like I don't know how to like having like a clean vocal. Like you could hear like because mostly song I made is like probably like trap, like drill, like those kind of like rap vocals I've been working on. So I want to know like is there any ways I could like having a good like clean vocal match with the like the beats or something like that.
I'm having a little trouble understanding the problem. So are you struggling to get a clear vocal that fits in with the beats? Are you having trouble blending it? Like what's the actual problem?
Like when I like we recording it, it's all right. It's absolutely all right. But after I recording it, it came out like after I just tried to like mixing it, like the voice is goes kind of weird. I don't know.
To me, it just sounds like a mixing issue. Like it sounds like you have to
Yeah.
really pursue like tutorials on mixing, on how to mix a vocal, especially in that genre. And I know there's millions of them out there. You said like what genre? Did you say like trap and drill and stuff?
Yeah. Kind those kind of thing.
Yeah, so like there's like even a bunch of genius behind the beat tutorial videos where you can watch like the pros be doing this stuff. And what you need to be doing with those videos, watching them, and every time it shows their screen, like literally pausing it and just like seeing everything that's on their screen, everything that they're doing. Any little bit of tidbit of inside knowledge you can glean from those beyond what they're actually saying. You should be like going in depth, studying it that way. But also like just general, like you got to get better at mixing. Like if you think the vocal sounds good on its own when you're recording it, but then you get it in the context of the song and it doesn't sound good, that means things have to change about the mix of the instrumental as well. Like you have to make space for the vocal to fit. Like sometimes beat makers, or when we get used to making instrumentals, we get used to filling all the space because we're trying to make something complete just out of an instrumental. And that's fine if you're making just instrumental music. But if you're making a track that is definitely supposed to have a top line or a singer or a rapper on it, you can't do that. You have to leave things empty. You have to leave space for the vocalist. Otherwise, your vocalist is now going to be competing with the melody instrument or with some of this rhythmic thing that's conflicting, you know? Like, so if be deliberate in your process.
Like leave the space for the artist to like on top of the music.
Exactly. Like your instrumental should feel like it's missing something if it's meant to have an artist on top, right? So think about that compositionally, and then from a technical perspective, learn the ins and outs of getting that vocal to blend and mix well into an instrumental. But the first step is, of course, having an instrumental that has space for a vocalist, right?
Oh yeah, and I also want to know like how do you like promoting yourself for as an artist, as a beat maker, as a producer, or just like as a person, like how do you like promoting yourself? Because me and one of my friend we are already made a couple songs, and we want to like drop an album or some music video or whatever, but before that we want to like know how to promote like songs or promote as an artist, how to like promote to the market, like, oh, here's a guy who been making music or whatever.
Well, I can promise you that nobody's going to care about your song as much as they care about their own favorite song, right? Nobody's going to care about some artist that they've never heard of or that they can't relate to just because they dropped a new song. And I think a lot of artists have this kind of delusion that they made a new piece of music and they're going to put it out and they're going to make a music video and that anybody's going to care. And the reality of it is you have to give them a reason to care. Like I don't know how many, I think there's a stat for this, but like think about how many tracks release on Spotify every day, every week. Think about how many tracks release on SoundCloud every day, every week. Think about how many videos get uploaded to YouTube every day, every week. The reason people show up, think about any reason you like any of your favorite artists. It's not just because of their music. It's probably because, oh, you like this person's style, or this person tweets out funny memes all the time, or this person did an interview and it was really inspiring. Like there's probably like 50 different reasons other than music that you like your favorite artist. And you should deconstruct what those things are. And the lesson there is, you have to build a brand that is about more than just music. It's about who you are as a person. It's about what you believe. It's about what you think is cool. Like you're the curator. You're the creative director. It's why I'm trying to push more and more and say that I'm an artist. If you just say that you're a musician, that puts you in this box where it's like, oh, you just make music. And people can check a box in their head and be like, oh, you make music. That's cool. I'll maybe listen to your song, but I'm probably just going to go listen to the same song or the same playlist I've been listening to for a year. Like if you're an artist, that gives people something to grab onto. They're like, dang, these dudes have like cool fashion, or these dudes are funny, or these dudes like are super inspiring.
Yeah.
Like give
so
people
go ahead. Should I like open like my own brand, like not a big like major label, but like probably like just a label or a group like of people who doing things together, whatever.
Well, who's the best example of that?
Uh, um, I would say like probably like ASAP. Like you can see the
Yep.
ASAP Rocky,
Yep.
ASAP the Mob, the whole brand right there. They really inspire me because they used to be just like friends, whatever. But after they came up, they still making music, fashion, design and everything. Just so cool, you know.
Exactly. ASAP, perfect example. Actually, in my mind, I was going towards Odd Future, another example
yeah,
of what you're talking
yeah.
about. But I guess the reality there is, so what you do now is you go back and you investigate the whole history of ASAP, the whole history of Odd Future, the whole history of all these groups. Like if that's something you want to do, you want to build up this group of artists and you kind of like that model of how that exists. You should learn the history of that, learn what made that successful, what they kind of did, then apply it to you and your passions and what you can do. But like, I think that's a great North Star. Like, again, we talk about North Star, looking at those huge groups and those collectives of creatives, right? Because there's a lot of like singular artists out there that are doing stuff on their own. But the fact that you brought it to a group, like a collective, a bunch of creatives doing stuff together, that's something special. That's its own thing. So like you can 100%, and like that's good. That's good that you have that idea and that mentality. Somebody in the chat said Brockhampton. Yes, exactly. So now what you have is the blueprint. Like all those groups, you can go find your favorite one and document their history or go to their Wikipedia page or go to their social medias. Like I said before, go 5-10 years back and figure out the history, build the blueprint. And now you have the blueprint for what you got to do. But ASAP wasn't like when you look back at the history of ASAP, you got to put it into perspective. When they were just people that nobody ever heard of, they were doing things differently than they're doing it now. So you got to bring yourself back to that point where like you're an artist that nobody's ever heard of. How do we start? You can't start by doing the stuff that they're doing today. You won't have the budget. You won't have like the same audience. You won't have the same reach. So you got to start at the beginning, right? But that's huge. If you set that as a North Star, I want to build this collective of creatives that people get to know. And this is what the personality of that collective is. These are the personalities in that collective. Here's how we're going to showcase. We're going to do Instagram. We're going to do YouTube. We're going to do video. We're going to do photo shoots, whatever. Do that. Full speed ahead on that. I'm fully confident in you.
All right. Yeah.
Hell yeah, Jack. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. This call. I think it's really helped me a lot for my future or anything, you know.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Awesome. Hey, like in 5-10 years when you've got this new collective and we're all like, we're tossing your name around instead of saying Odd Future or ASAP, like, let me know.
Yeah, I will be there.
Awesome.
All
Thanks,
right,
Jack.
see you. Have
ya.
a nice day.
You too. Great call from Jack. It's some of the stuff, like, I guess, like in having these conversations, which is one of the piece of magic of these call-in shows. It's like when we talk to Piccolo Black, and he's like, I want to make music for artists. I want to produce with artists. That's what I love. That's what I want to be known for. I don't really love doing the lo-fi beats. To just have the realization moment of like, oh, okay, so now what's the next step? How do we make ourselves known for doing that? How do we like, and there's like, oh yeah, okay, of course. What's the next step in that? And then with this call with Jack, it's like, oh, how do we get our music out there? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, I really like these groups. Like I really like ASAP. Like I want to create a collective. It's like, okay, so like you can do that. Like realize the things that the little fleeting thoughts that you just have are not just little fleeting thoughts. These are ideas that you can execute on. These are ideas that you can go full speed ahead. These are ideas that you can deconstruct. You can find people that are doing the thing that you specifically want to be doing and like deconstruct how they did it and apply it to you. 100%. You can do that. Okay. Sayso, Zello, and then Astro Bit, and then we're done. I'm pulling the call link. We have been going for almost 2 hours. I'm going to unpin that message. And here we will find out how poorly I'm pronouncing this name. Sayso Zello, who I'm very excited to have on because they have Momo in their profile picture on Zoom. right?
Oh, actually, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm actually on my phone, so I was a bit worried. But yes, that is actually Momo from Twice.
Perfect. Perfect. You got extra points in my book.
All right, it's great meeting you, man. I actually saw you a few months back when I was I'm actually from the Maldives, so it's a bit far. It's around 3 a.m., so I'm very tired right now. So I apologize if I'm mumbling around a bit.
No problem.
But
I mean, thank you for calling in at such a late time.
But yeah, I always made music a couple of years back as well. One just on and off, and then I think I stopped for a couple of years, and then around 7 or 8 months ago, I was going through keyboards, portable setups, and I saw one of your videos. I think I saw your Akai MPK video, and I was like, you were having so much fun, and it looked like you were having a great time. You're making these beats, and so I pulled the trigger. I got myself an Akai, and I've been making music again, and I'm really happy about it. It's just been a great time ever since that. So thank you, first of all, for planting the seeds and helping me get back my passion into music.
I appreciate it.
It's been great.
I appreciate you saying that.
So my question, I think I have like two questions, but one would be, when do you know when to like stop tweaking a song?
Perfect question. And I have a answer for this. It's like kind of a really simple answer too. So when I'm making a song, when I'm making music and it's something that I want to release, there is a process, right? Okay, so the song is essentially done. I'm no longer adding any more musical ideas, and I've done a mix. I've done a mix. I've got it sounding pretty much how I think I want it to sound. Then I export it out. I go listen to it on my phone. I go listen to it in the car. I go listen to it on different speakers, and I take in what am I hearing? Now that usually presents some mixing, like just from being away from the song for a bit and then listening to it on different stuff. Then I start to hear things that I didn't hear before. So then I take notes. I write a list of things down that I need to change, like mixing notes. I'm not changing really anything musically. The music stuff is locked in, but I'm taking mix notes. Then I go back into the DAW. I do another mix. I upload that to my Google Drive again. Go do the same process. Listen to it everywhere. Maybe I have a few more notes, or maybe some of the tweaks I made, I have to tweak a little more. Cool. That's a second round. My average, I think, is doing this probably 5 or 6 times. But there's always, every round that I'm revising the song, there's always a list of things that I need to fix, things that I need to change. When I know it's done, and done does not mean perfect. They're not the same thing. It's done when I can no longer write down what I want to change. Like I said, it's not going to be a perfect track. There might be things that need to be changed, or that I kind of wish this was better, or something like that. But I might not have the skill to articulate or change that thing at this time. So what that means is, when I get to that point where I can no longer articulate, I can no longer write down what I want to change about this piece of music, that means that it's the best that I can do. Like, this is the best that I can do right now. So that means it's done. Otherwise, like we've talked about multiple times on the stream already, if I wait till I have enough skill, like that's not an existing thing. Like, I'll be better 10 years from now, but I'll be better 10 years from then. I'll be even better. If you just keep waiting, you'll never be your best. You're always getting better. So you have to figure out what is your best right now. And that's my process for figuring that out. It's just making that list of things I want to change. If I run out of things to write down, or I cannot articulate what I want to write down, then that means it's the best I can do today.
That's kind of similar to how I was doing it. I actually showed the song I was working on, the city pop song.
Yes. City pop song. If anybody remembers from the feedback stream, fire, absolute fire. That song's ready, right? Like, I don't remember what I said about that track, but I remember being really excited.
Yeah, so ever since I sent in for review, I was working with my friend, and we got the vocals done a few weeks back, and I just been listening to it every day, just here and there with different headsets, sometimes just through my phone speakers, just figuring out how can I make this better. And I thought I spent a bit too much time, and I thought I was overthinking it. So that's why I really wanted to ask you this. I actually finished it a few hours ago today, coincidentally, and I uploaded to DistroKid, and I'm hopefully it'll be on Spotify soon, and I'll upload it to SoundCloud and everything as well. And I'm really excited to share it with everyone because I was really happy with all the feedback and how much everyone really enjoyed it.
Yes. Do you have are you releasing it under an artist page that already exists, or is it going to be like under a different artist name page?
Well, my Spotify artist page is the same name. It's Sayso Zello.
Sayso Zello. And it's going to be under that name, right?
It's gonna be under that name. Yeah, I do have a YouTube account of the same name. That is not the one that I'm a member in, unfortunately, because I'm from the Maldives, so membership's not available there. So I had to work around that.
Right. Well, I was going to say, make sure you're using Spotify for artists. And since you already uploaded the song to DistroKid, in a couple days in Spotify for artists, that song will show up as an upcoming release and you can pitch it to playlists. And I would definitely recommend pitching it because there's a ton of city pop playlists. I'm sure, I don't know how many people are making new city pop. I know a lot of it is just kind of older stuff, that older classics that are being added to these playlists. But I think there's high playlist potential there.
Yeah, I've always been into the more retro city pop jazzy stuff. So I worked up from lo-fi initially. I already have around 3 songs released, and you can see kind of how I've been experimenting with everything in the past few months. I have around 3 songs already on my Spotify page, and this is, I would say, it's been the most experimental one so far. I never worked with vocals ever. It was really difficult. I was actually quite glad to hear about the compression stuff earlier in the stream as well. That was really helpful, and the pitch shifting and everything, the pitch correcting.
Yeah.
So this would be my most experimental one yet. I have vocals. It's completely a different genre. It's very retro. I used a lot of instruments. I even picked up the guitar again. I'm mostly a keyboard player, but I'm quite happy with how it turned out. I'm super excited.
Hey, shout out to you for doing the experimenting and just taking a chance and putting that out. Great work. Can't wait to hear it. Make sure in the Discord, you let us all know when it's dropping, if there's a pre-save link and stuff.
Oh, yeah, I think I'll drop it in a while. I do have a pre-save link. But yeah, I also wanted to ask just on how since once you finalize the song, once the beat, the instrumentals and vocals, everything mixed in, how is could you go into your specifics on okay, do you have an idea of the album art or anything like that? Do you just release it and then how do you connect with the community, anything like that?
It's a good question. I mean, album art and title are usually the next thing. Once the song is done, then I feel like I can come up with a title. I try to figure out what does the song invoke. Not to be promoting my next release, but my next track will come out on March 3rd and it's called Escape. And if you look at the album art for that with the pre-save link, which Nightbot has been dropping in the chat. But if you look at the artwork for that, that's actually a painting that I did that I just found in one of my sketchbooks. And it just matches the vibe of the track. The track is supposed to be very inspirational. It's almost supposed to be say kind of what you said at the beginning, where it's you saw me having fun and making music and etc. That sort of thing. That is what this track kind of embodies. So the artwork embodies that. And the word escape, we all want to be able to escape with our music or escape to somewhere and go make our art, You know, so like it comes down to that. That's album art, and the title is where you can get down to like what is your philosophy. And then once that track drops, my plan is to do like a breakdown and show people the process and all that kind of stuff. So, and I already have a platform for that. You might need to start building a platform so that your music can get heard and you can start connecting with your audience in whatever form that takes. But that's why I do encourage, make sure you submit to playlists, because that's a super easy way for you to get a lot of people to hear your music. And that kind of music that you're making is great for playlists.
That was all really helpful. I'm glad I joined in. It's really hard for me to join your stream sometimes, but I do always watch back at when I have time because of usually the time difference. But it's always nice seeing all of your videos. They're really helpful, and they've been they play a huge part in everything I've been doing in the past few months. Thank you for just enabling me to have so much fun again.
I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you so much for telling me that. Thank you so much for calling in, and do let us know in the Discord when that track drops. I can't wait.
Definitely. I'll send the pre-save link in a while.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Get some sleep.
Have a good rest of stream, guys. Bye-bye.
Have a good one. Awesome. We have one more call in, but I gotta say, thank you to OSR The Journey for the $19.99 super chat. Thank you so much. That's very generous. Couldn't call in this time. We'll call in to discuss the current movement with the popular YouTubes your true fans will support. What's the current movement with the popular YouTubers your true fans will support? I think I kind of know what you're touching on. I think I've touched on it a few times. The Mr. Beastification of music production YouTube, like how music, like peace and love to Mr. Beast. Like he's cool for doing what he does, but he's kind of like breaking things for artists, right? So now artists, instead of like creating cool stuff, creating like good art, they're just creating like Mr. Beast clone stuff, which is kind of sad, right? Anyway, Astro Bit, let's get you in here, our last call. I hope you all have been enjoying this show. It's been a while since we did a call-in show. If you do enjoy it, we can do it more often. If you do want to support the channel, consider becoming a member, hitting the join button, become a member at any tier, get access to the Discord. There's free downloads for members. There's members only videos. It's a fun time. But hey, Astrobit, how's it going?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Thank you for joining the stream.
Oh, hey man, thanks for having me. I'm quite glad to see that I was the last one.
Yes, you made it in.
Nice. Well, first of all, thank you for all your videos, man. I gotta say, I'm quite grateful because you kind of reignited some music that I had in me like for a long time, or that I didn't have for a long time. I mean,
awesome.
And so I really want to say thank you, man. You've pushed me along, and it's been a great journey until now.
Hey, I appreciate you telling me that. Thank you so much.
And so yeah, I kind of. I don't have a very specific question to ask, I guess. It's more like I'm a newbie to music production on Ableton right now. I've been using this software for like 3 months, but I've been learning quite quick with your videos and some other cool guys from YouTube.
Cool.
And I wanted to ask you, right now I'm at the point where I can already put up some loops together and create like a vibe and some cool feeling with a song and a few sounds, and I'm trying to start mixing track now together,
Yep.
like putting a song together. And I'm having a lot of trouble balancing like the exploring part of it and the getting distracted by all this bunch like of instruments and plugins and everything that is new to me,
Yeah.
So would you have an advice on how to like balance that part, so you check that you're not getting just distracted and spending a couple of hours in something that is just not going to be in your track because of the exploration part,
I mean, you're at the stage where like exploration is kind of a good thing, but it is also most tempting because you have so much to explore and there's so much new stuff and it seems kind of fun, right? Like, but
yeah, for sure.
it does come down to discipline, and you're already having this idea that you're like, damn, I got to stop doing this and I got to like actually finish this. And so like you should kind of build in stages where, like I just talked about with the last caller, deciding if a song is finished. Well, like the first step in that is deciding that I'm not going to add any new musical ideas. Like the musical ideas are locked in. So I'm not adding another instrument. I'm not adding something else here. I'm deciding that this instrumental is done. And then I'm moving on to the mixing and the revision stage that way. So you do need to give yourself like a point where you're like, where you can tell yourself, okay, I feel satisfied with all of the music here. And now I'm going to move into like mixing, or now I'm going to move into arrangement. Now I'm going to move into mixing, whatever it is. Give yourself those stages. Don't constantly be working on everything all of the time. And then I guess a lot of it in Ableton Live, you can get caught in session view, like just constantly having infinite loops. I don't know if that's kind of your workflow right now.
That's kind of like the way it works.
But if it is, that can trap you. That can trap you in these loops, and it never actually becomes a song. So like, biggest part of the process there is moving it over into arrangement view, so you're on a timeline. And what the timeline does is it gives you a beginning, a middle, an end, or at least you can start working towards that. And I just dropped part 9 of the Ableton Live for Beginner series, which is that first part of the process, just coming up with the musical ideas. They're all just loops, creating variations, etc. I just shot part 10 yesterday, and part 10 is kind of answering some of the question that you just asked, which is now take those loops, put them on the timeline, and like commit to them, and now build a song structure from that. So that tutorial, which will drop first week of March, I think, that will be very helpful to you, I think. But for now, in the meantime, start like being disciplined about your process and how you spend your time. If you're starting a new track and coming up with new music and new musical ideas, be deliberate about that. Don't get into mixing. Don't worry about arrangement. Just come up with new musical ideas. Then save that project, come back to it the next day and say, now I'm going to arrange this. I'm going to take these musical ideas and I'm going to start plotting them out on the timeline. There might be a few missing pieces here and there where you're like, oh, let me add one musical idea here, one musical idea there. Then give it some time, listen to it, think about some honest thoughts around it. If you feel like it needs more, add a little bit more. If you can't really come up with more, that means the musical ideas are locked in. Now start finishing. Get it sounding a good mix. Get it sounding like a good, but that's another session, right? So you got to break up your music making process into these different focused sessions. Like each session has a different focus, right? Whether you're starting something new, refining something, or finishing something, those are 3 totally different tasks. Sometimes we try to do it all at once, and that's where we get stuck in a loop and we never put anything out.
Yeah, gotcha. All right. That sounds like a great way to see it. Like just focus per session on one thing. And,
what's your goal in that session? That's what you should be asking yourself. Is the goal to like have this track arranged? Is the goal to fill in gaps in whatever musical ideas exist? Is your goal to finish the track? Like that should be very clear when you sit down.
Mm-hmm. All right. No, then I'm excited for your new video, man, because that's exactly what I was kind of looking for. I mean, some kind of structure to keep producing, and yeah, that sounds like a great plan. So thanks a lot.
Perfect.
Man.
Thank you,
I don't know
Ashley.
if you want to wrap it up soon. So, yeah, sure. Thank you for your time as well, and wish you all guys all the best as well. Thank you for doing what you do, and see you in the future, maybe.
See ya. Have a good one.
Right.
Thank you for calling in. Yeah, this was a great call-in show, everybody. I mean, we went for about 2 hours. That feels good. Let's start to wrap things up here. Any final questions in chat? Dump them in there. I might have missed some previous ones, so I apologize for that. What I want to say, there's a text question that says, can you tell me the difference between active, passive studio monitors? That is something you can Google, Sebastian. I don't think we need to take time on this to answer that. Renee says, have the DAWless groove boxes dead? Like there's no new hardware that come out sometime? I don't think you're right about that at all, Renee. We have Novation that went from putting out a single circuit groove box to then putting out two, a sample-based groove box and a synth-based groove box. We have Electron that's constantly making stuff like their Digitact and their model cycles, model samples. You have stuff like the SP404. I don't know if you consider that. It's definitely a sampler. You could maybe make a case and say it's groove box, but if you're talking about these little boxes that you can use without a laptop to make music, there's a ton of them out there. And I think one thing that's very telling about that question, saying things haven't come out in a while, it could be just that you're not aware of all these products coming out, but it could also be kind of a problem we pointed to earlier where there's issue with like gear acquisition syndrome. Everybody wants new. And that's kind of like perpetuated by this YouTube thing where it's a cycle where everybody's got to show something new. And it's like, but good products take a long time to produce, right? We're not going to get a new groove box every month, every 6 months, or even every year. There's a lot out there, and there's a lot coming. So, my friends, what's your go-to bass VST in lo-fi chill hop? I use a preset from Arturia. It's called a bass you'll use. It's just a very simple bass. There's a sub bass in Ableton Live that works as well. Like I said earlier, I've got part 9 of the Ableton Live series dropped on Wednesday. I will have the next and final edition of that series coming on the first week of March. Also during the first week of March, I'll be dropping my new track Escape, so please go pre-save that if you can. Last stream, I made a mistake and said it was coming out April 3rd because I was looking at the dates all wrong. This track will be dropping March 3rd. March 3rd. That's only a couple weeks from now. Yo, Thomas Martinez with the super chat. Thank you. I appreciate that. And one last note here as we close. There was some mention of like, you know, what's going on with the popular YouTubers, etc., the Mr. Beastification of the music YouTube space, right? The one way you can help combat that, and one way you can help take your stand, right? Like, I'm making full courses here on YouTube. I'm doing some videos in between that are fun and showing off a process, etc. But I'm also making like full courses, like the music theory course or the Ableton Live for Beginners course. Those things are not going to go viral ever, right? They're going to be super helpful. Like the music theory course almost has 1 million views on the first episode. So what that means is like not all the time will the algorithm be favoring my channel because I'm doing kind of a different thing than kind of catering to the viral Mr. Beast audience. If you want to help me out with that, just being a subscriber, turning on post notifications and engaging with content when it comes out, it helps get it all to more people. Leaving a like on the videos helps get it out to more people, etc. What do you mean by the Mr. Beastification? Asks Brian. The Mr. Beastification means like instead of coming to a music production video and learning anything or the music actually like being kind of good, it means that you're met with a video that just has a ton of fast edits, a ton of on-screen stuff. It's sort of like a junk food version. And that's fine because anybody can make fun, entertaining videos. But the major thing I worry about is people will tune into those videos where they're not actually learning anything. They're not actually taking any real value from them. And they're checking a box in their brain that says, yep, I learned music production today. Or, yep, I worked towards my goal of being a music producer today. When really you just watched an entertaining video that is no different from you watching a Mr. Beast video or a Netflix movie, or a Netflix TV show, or playing a video game, which all of those things are fine. Entertainment is totally fine. But just be cautious in what you consume. Brian says a lot of gaming content is like that too. Yes. And in gaming content, it's fine. You're not like sitting down to learn gaming. You're like, when you watch like a gaming edit from your favorite player, like you're just like, it's entertainment. So it's okay for entertainment to be edited like that, but less learning, more vibing. And there's a place for that, right? Like learning and vibing, less learning, more vibing. There's a place for the vibing, right? Vibing can be inspirational. But I worry when it's like a bunch of creators that just kind of make trap beats. just show their process making the same Drake type beat over and over again in a cool way with fast edits. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough. I just have a bigger goal. And the goal for this channel is a lot of what we heard today, which is, can we actually give people, everybody, the skills that they need to be making the music and push it forward so that people are making great art, so that people are making great music? Like, can we provide people with value instead of just like sedating them and like making them, just sucking them in with entertainment? Because I'm sure those videos have great retention. People are probably watching all the way through, the same way people watch through those like kinetic sand videos and those like, what is it? The train game videos. You know what I mean? TJ, thank you for the 3 months at VIP. So that's what I got for you today, folks. We're over the 2-hour mark. I appreciate it. Big news coming soon. Biggest news right now, biggest thing you can do to help me out is pre-save my next track, Escape. I'll be breaking it all down for you as the date comes closer. New stuff is in the works, new partnerships, partners I've never worked with before, making sounds for something really cool. New MIDI controller, I'm working on some content for that. A lot of cool stuff. That's all I'll say. Maybe even more live streaming in the near future. I'll leave you with that. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll talk to y'all next time. This has been TAETRO. Have a good one.